Hello, and welcome back to another SMA training video. So, this is our final video in our boxing basics series. So, we are breaking down the uppercut and how we throw it, how we use it, and just giving you all around the everything you need to know on getting started on developing and really making this punch a really good punch in your arsenal. So we are again talking about this one similar to the hook. So remember when we talked about the jab, it was always the front hand. When we talked about the cross, it was always the backhand. The hook could be done with either hand, your front hand or your backhand. And then the uppercut is the same. So when I do an uppercut, I can do an uppercut with my backhand, and I could do an uppercut with my front hand as well. The difference between hook and uppercut, though, is while you can throw an uppercut with either side, most of the time the uppercut is the backhand uppercut. So you can throw that front hand, but it's just not as common as the backhand, which is different than the hook. The hook, the most common hook is the front hand, and then the uncommon or the less seen one is that backhand punch. So our uppercut, when we do this one, again, gonna break it down just kind of the way I like to show it to people right away, and then we'll give a little more detail or refine the technique a little bit. So the very beginning way I like to teach it is right from here. So my backhand's gonna do it. So what I like to do is think about my elbow is gonna come down to my hip, right? Now again, I'm leaving my face open here, but we'll fix that when we refine the technique a little bit more. So my elbow is gonna drop to my hip. And then as I pivot, like I do on my cross, I'm gonna pivot and I'm gonna push my hip forward a bit. And when I do that, I want to extend the hand for that punch. Now, the way I like to think about this is I want to pretend like there's a big giant rubber band attached from my hip to my elbow. So when I do this punch, as I pivot, my elbow is connected to my hip, I push my hip forwards, my arm extends into the uppercut, then that rubber band is being stretched, and we all know that once you let go of a rubber band that's really stretched out, it's gonna spring really fast back to normal. So as soon as I extend, I stretch that rubber band, then when I relax, boom, it's gonna pop that arm right back in, right? So that way we don't get that situation where people are like, throwing their arm all super crazy on this. We wanna turn, extend, and then boom, have it pop right back into our stance very quickly. So again, going through, we go. Arm drops, my elbow connects to my hip. I'm gonna pivot, push my hip forward that little extra bit, and that's gonna explode that hand out, and then my rubber band is pulling back to my hip, boom, which helps me to get my arm back to the correct position. So, from there, once again, elbow drops, pivot, push, extend, back and up, right? So that's the way I like to teach it to people at the very beginning. So let's go on and try that basic style on the other side. So if we go to that southpaw stance now, my left hand's gonna be doing it. So again, my hands are in the right position, knees bent, toes, weight on the toes. So I drop that elbow down to my hip. I'm gonna pivot, push that hip forward that little bit, boom, extends the arm up. That rubber band's connected, so it pulls my arm back into my hip, which pushes my hip back and gets me back into my stance really quickly. So, again, elbow down, pivot, push those hips, extend the hand, rubber band pulls that arm back quick, which pushes my hip back and gets my hand back into the position. One more time, we go down, pivot, push, extend, back to our stance. All right, Now, let's refine that technique a little bit more, because just like the hook, when we practice that, we practice coming down, holding the coffee cup, and then pouring it out. But remember, we talked about that leaves our head very, very exposed. So same thing on this. If I'm doing a good uppercut, if my hand drops like this, now all of my head protection is gone. So a good fighter is gonna see that opening and they're gonna attack right away. And they might be faster than me, so I might not be able to get my punch out before they get me. So what we wanna do is keep our protection for as long as possible. So in our stance here, instead of dropping my arm to my elbow, what I wanna do is crunch on my side, right? So a good way to practice this is just standing feet together with our hands up, and you just practice crunching one side and then the other, right? So I'm not just pulling my arm down, but I'm actually crunching down and keeping my hands up. Then I come back up and I do the other side. Crunch and up. This is actually a really good oblique exercise. You're working that core muscles on the side to side. So it's a really good thing for our core. So in this one, when I'm set here, what I want to do is turn and drop that hand down. Now again, just like with our hook, when I rotated, I had my shield and then came back with that punch. So on this one, I'm in that stance. So as I bend, I want to turn it, and now I got this shield protecting me here. And then I'm going to roll that pivot forwards. I'm going to push that hip as I come into the uppercut, and now my shield is right here. So my arms are actually in a very strong defensive position. I'm wide open on this side. So when I do that uppercut, I usually lift that shoulder to protect that chin, like we did on all the other punches. So again, from here, I'm gonna drop and pull my shield over. I'm going to turn, lift into my punch. Now again, remember that rubber band is connected. So I'm gonna pull back and get into that stance. So I always think about like I'm elbowing myself in the hip. Boom! And that pops my hips back and allows me to get back into my stance very quickly. So from here, a little bit smoother, I'm gonna tilt, uppercut, and back, right? Tilt, uppercut, and back. One more time. And then other side. Here we go. Ready? And once again, hands are up. So instead of dropping, I'm going to crunch down. So I'm crunching as I bring that shield over. I rotate, push that hip as I extend the punch, keeping that shield in that right place. Elbows being pulled by the rubber band. Pow, pulling me right back into my set stance here. Right? And I do it again. Crunch, pull that shield over, up, into the uppercut, rubber band, pulls me back. All right, a little smoother. Couple more. One more. So, that's our uppercut. Now again, if we were doing it with our front hand, the front hand would be really similar, right? I would connect my hand, my elbow to my hip. The only difference is I would roll this way to connect, and then pivoting, pushing that hip as I come up with the uppercut, and then coming back into that set stance there. So our uppercut is a little bit, with our front hand, is a little bit more awkward, which is why you don't see it very often, but it can be an even sneakier way to throw that uppercut, right? And again, on the other side, it would be here, up, and back. Because a lot of times what people would think is you're coming back with a hook. So as I said, they're protecting and getting ready for the hook to come, and then all of a sudden, whoo, it comes up rather than sideways. So you can really catch people off guard with that one. But that is it for our uppercut training. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you got a lot out of it. Once again, thanks for being here, and we'll see you in the next one.